and we are here for the college football playoff reveal of the first playoff rankings for the 12-team era. I had a great show for you guys. We're in a little bit of a different atmosphere than usual, as I am actually on the road for my main job. So, hence the different on the road microphone setup and the Mac camera as my main camera. We're going to make the best of it. I have a really fun show planned for you guys. Hopefully, we can get some great viewership going. And I have a list of topics on a little sheet of paper we're going to be talking about. But I also want to try to answer some questions you guys will have throughout the night. And we're just going to have fun. We're going to just hang out and we're just going to do the best we can and react to a ranking that probably doesn't matter when all is said and done. Uh, what's up? Let's Dill Cook. Let's have a fun little show tonight. Um, so I want to start the show off by talking about, before they release their rankings, what my college football playoff rankings would be at this time. And coming in at number one as the one seed, I have Oregon. Oregon has just looked so dominant all season long and looks like the favorite to win it all. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's playing out of his mind. I was a little worried about them, how they played against Idaho in the season opener, and then how they played against Boise State. Boise State almost actually won that game, and I actually probably have Boise State ranked higher than most people have them ranked. So probably going to get some controversial viewership once I mention that. Coming in at number two, I have Ohio State. Ohio State's only loss was a 1 point loss to Oregon on the road. A game, one of the best games of the season so far. Followed by number three, Georgia, who lost to Bama in another amazing game this season that I didn't actually get to watch. I had a charity run uh, Sunday morning and still have to go back and watch that game because I've really missed out on that. Followed by Texas at number four, whose only loss is to Georgia. This differs from the AP poll because the AP poll has Miami at number four. I have Texas at number four, and I have actually Miami at number five. I can't tell whether I think Miami's a good football team or if they're just getting lucky. I mean, the way they beat Virginia Tech, the way they got bailed out against Cal, the refs helped with both of those. Whether the call on the Hail Mary should have been called a touchdown at first, based off of the call on the field, it shouldn't have been reversed. Against Cal, they got away with the targeting call. I mean, they basically knocked the quarterback out cold, helmet to helmet, clear. Should have extended the drive, should have led to Cal winning that game, not leading to a punt that let Miami go down and score. And then they were in a close game against Duke, but then they showed up and just ran away with it at the end, impressing me. I think Cam Ward looks great. We'll talk a little bit more about Cam Ward in just a little bit. What up, Gameplay Shorts? Coming in at number six, I have Indiana. I think Indiana is getting underrated by AP viewers or AP voters. I think if they had a different logo on the side of the helmet, if they had a different history than what their football program is, I think they'd be ranked higher than the AP voters. And I'm really interested to see how this committee ends up ranking Indiana overall tonight. Followed by Indiana, I have number seven, BYU. BYU is another undefeated team. They just keep winning. I was amazed with how well they played and crushed Kansas State. They have a win over SMU, and SMU is looking like a really good team right now. And it's just hard not to be rooting for BYU. Followed by, at number eight, I have Tennessee, whose only loss is to Arkansas, and they did beat Bama. I think Tennessee can beat Georgia, and we'll talk about how I maybe think Georgia may lose to Ole Miss with the way Carson Beck is playing a little later on. It's on a little sheet of notes to talk about later on. Followed by Tennessee, I have Penn State, who just lost to Ohio State. Penn State struggled against Wisconsin until the middle of the third quarter when Braden Locke threw a pick six. Then they ran away with that game, only winning 28-10 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I kind of pushed that game out of my memory as a Badger fan, just because it was a painful second half, and the Badger season has been a painful one this year, as you guys saw in my video I released just a few days ago. But coming in at number 9, I have Boise State. Now, the reason I have Boise State at number 9 is their only loss is to Oregon right now. Yes, they don't have the strongest schedule playing in the Mountain West, but they played Oregon to, I think, 3 points. Let me just pull up that score to see how. Yeah, they went into Oregon and lost 37-34 on the road. I think they're not getting the respect they deserve right now. And like Indiana, if they had a different logo on the side of their helmet, I think they'd be ranked a little higher. So I'm excited to see where Boise State is ranked come the committee's rankings as well in just a little bit. The show starts going at 7. Number 10, I have SMU, whose only loss is to BYU. And followed by Notre Dame at number 10, I have Boise State. Number 11, I have SMU. And number 12, I have Notre Dame. At number 13, I have Alabama. 14, I have Texas A&M. 15, I have LSU. I rank Texas A&M above LSU just because Texas A&M has beaten LSU this season so far. And at number 16, I have Ole Miss. I think that Tennessee Georgia game, Pokeboy 926, is going to be a really fun game to pay attention. Uh, but bringing my rankings down to the college football playoff bracket to release my bracket before they decide to go and release their bracket, I have Oregon as the 1 seed, Georgia as the 2 seed, Miami as the 3 seed, and BYU as the 4 seed as the 4 conference champions who get a bye. That leads a first round matchup with Ohio State versus Notre Dame, the 5 and 12. Uh, Texas versus SMU, which would be a really exciting in-state Texas matchup for the 6 and 11 matchup. At 8 and 9, I have Tennessee versus Penn State. I think that could be another exciting college football matchup. And the 7 and 10 matchup is Indiana and Boise State, which would be the more I think about these games, the more excited I get for this 12-team college football playoff. I've been a fan of the FCS football teams and the way their playoff system has gone on for years. I'm getting really excited for their playoff coming up, and I have a few FCS videos coming out this week, next week, and I'm going to be covering the FCS playoffs throughout the month of December. We're going to be hopefully releasing a video every day from the week of Thanksgiving all the way through Christmas while I'm working a full-time job on top of that. I do all this stuff by myself, so we'll see how well this goes. We'll see if my sanity survives. But for the next few weeks, we're going to try to go live Tuesday for these college football playoff shows. Some facts to talk about is there are 6 new committee members. It's the first time they're doing the 12-team college football playoff ranking. And I think the biggest question is where Indiana gets ranked. Their strength of schedule is 103, but they're not just beating teams, they're blowing out teams. They trailed for the first time last week against Michigan State and ended up winning in a blowout when all was said and done. And for the first time since 1968, they're actually entering their game against Michigan as favorites. They're 14-point favorites going into this week. Before we continue to move on, I'm going to go through the comment section to see what y'all are talking about. If you guys have any questions or any specific topics you want me to watch or you want me to talk about, make sure to leave it in the comment section and we'll get talking about some of those topics. I had one person request that I talk about Kansas State football. If you're here on the show, let me know you're here and we'll talk some Kansas State football. I wish the season was going better for them. This past week was shocking against Houston, but let's go through the comment section. I talked about how I'm really excited for the Tennessee-Georgia game and how I could see it going either way. I'm a little concerned about the way Carson Beck's playing right now, which we'll get into more in just a little bit. And if they do the blackout, I wish I could figure a way to get down to that game. I've been wanting to get to Sanford Stadium for a while. I just haven't been able to make do with it. And I'm also a Jersey boy to let y'all know. I know I've mentioned it in previous videos, so Rutgers, soft place in my heart, but I am a Wisconsin Badger fan. Rutgers is disappointing once again. Uh, Grew up going to bad Rutgers games and Big East play and wish things were going a little better. But so, what are y'all's college football playoff rankings? Where are your seedings? How do you think things end up going over the next few weeks? Um, so let's talk about some of the games coming up this week. We're going to be getting the playoff rankings hopefully pretty soon. If I seem a little out of it, I just want to say I've been up since 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the mind's not fully all here. I just wanted to get going and go live with y'all to see how things get y'all's opinion on the rankings. I always have fun going live during these ranking shows and getting the reaction with you guys and having fun. And I want to do more of these live streams just to get more connected with you guys, have fun. We're having the best year in channel history right now, and we're going to end it on a really high note into December, into heading into 2025, and hopefully have an even bigger year in 2025. So I see a lot of people talking about Carson Beck in the comment section. Uh, and I think that's a great way to get into the Georgia versus Ole Miss game. Georgia, for most of the game against Florida last week, did not look like the Georgia teams we're used to. They're struggling to run the ball. They're 97th in rushing this year, which is unlike Georgia in previous years. Usually you could guarantee them to be one of the top teams running the ball year in, year out. Them, Iowa, Wisconsin back in the day before the dairy raid failure that we're having right now. They were just one of those teams. Bama, always one of those teams that can run the ball. But 97th, when I saw that statistic, when I heard that number, it shocked me. They're only averaging 132.3 yards per game right now on the ground. And I think if they really want to seriously compete for the national title this year, they're going to need to improve that and get the running game going. I thought Florida was going to win that game before Lagway went down with an injury. Billy Napier, as much as people are calling for his head, and I released a video talking about who could be possible replacements a little too early. I don't think he keeps the job at the end of the year, but I think things are looking better for Florida, but I don't think it's going to be enough when all is said and done. Billy Napier has not lost the locker room, and that team is playing extremely hard and extremely well. And now, as compared to how they were playing in the beginning of the season, and Miami's looking like a much better team than they did coming into the season. They got Cam Ward as a Heisman contender, so the score's not all that shocking when you hindsight is 2020. But Georgia enters the Ole Miss game as 2.5-point favorites. In the last 5 games, Carson Beck has 5 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And Carson Beck entered the season as a possible number 1 overall draft pick. I never saw that, and a few of my YouTube buddies never really saw that either. But the scouts loved him, and they thought he was going to go have this insane year, go number 1 overall in the NFL draft after leading Georgia to an SEC championship and a national title. And it just hasn't been that great this year compared to previous years. He used to be known as the guy who was not going to turn the ball over. He had weapons galore, Brock Bowers being one of the big ones, but it just hasn't worked out this season. And there's some culture questions at Georgia to talk about as well, and is this finally where things are catching up? If Beck and Georgia, and watch, after saying this, Carson Beck is going to go have the game of his life, and Georgia is going to wipe the floor with Ole Miss. But I just don't know if that ends up happening. Ole Miss is getting it together. They're averaging 42.1 points per game right now and only allowing 13.2 points per game on defense. They're terrible against the pass offense. So if there's going to be a game where Beck is going to bounce back, it's going to be this game. And if he doesn't, the questions start, do you make a switch at quarterback? Is Carson Beck the guy? And I don't know. But like I said, now that we're talking about this, now that we're saying this, Carson Beck's going to go and have a massive game against Ole Miss, and Georgia's going to silence the haters. This is at least an elimination game for Ole Miss. I don't know if it's an elimination game for Georgia, but it is one of those things to keep an eye on. And if Georgia wants to make the college football playoff, I think they need to win this game. If they lose, I don't think they're eliminated. But if Ole Miss drops their third game, it's over. Ole Miss is sneaky good. I think Miami gets ranked 5th. At least that's where I have Miami, 5th in my current top 25. Though they are going to get the first round bye as the ACC predicted champion. But moving on to the biggest game, I think, of the week, as a true elimination game, unless pure chaos breaks out, you have Alabama traveling to LSU. Now, this game is a game that is always fun. One of my favorite games of all time is when Alabama lost to LSU 9-6 years ago. It's been a video I've been wanting to do talking about that game. This rivalry means more. It's a night game in Death Valley. That place is going to be rocking. Bama struggled with the crowd against Tennessee. They're probably going to struggle again with the crowd at LSU. This is a big game for Kalen DeBoer. And this is a big game for Brian Kelly as well. Alabama needs to win this game. Fans are starting to turn on DeBoer already. Now, the transition from Nick Saban to whoever was going to get the job was always going to be tough. It was never going to go swimmingly. But a 9-3 season, 8-4 season, because let's say you struggle in the Iron Bowl, because every year Auburn somehow ends up having a game of their life in the Iron Bowl when Alabama is competing for an SEC championship. I think fans are going to start getting worried. I think Kalen DeBoer is the guy. I think Kalen DeBoer was an amazing hire. I think Alabama somehow pulls this win out against LSU. Garrett Nussmeier can't stop turning the ball over. I don't know how I feel about this LSU team. This is the same LSU team that lost to USC in week 1, which was ages ago, and teams evolve and change. But they also struggled against Texas A&M. They lost to Texas A&M even with the switch up in quarterbacks. This feels like I said with Georgia and Carson Beck, where Beck goes and has a great game and Georgia shows us, hey, you thought we were down, we're going to go out and win this. This feels like a game where Bama coming off a bye, both teams are coming off a bye, but Bama coming off a bye, Jalen Milroe not being talked about as a Heisman contender anymore. This is a game that defines the DeBoer era in year 1, and I could see them just winning late. I think they cover with the 3 points, and I think it's going to be an all-time classic game. It's either going to be a defensive battle or it's going to be a shootout. I can't figure that one out. But I don't know if I trust LSU and Nussmeier. The game that's not really being talked about that I'm actually really intrigued by this year, or this week specifically, is Washington versus Penn State. Yes, Penn State should have, could have beaten Ohio State. I mean, they had their foot on Ohio State's neck and let Ohio State back into that game, and Ohio State ended up coming in and winning that game during a noon whiteout, which was a weird one for me. I think they're actually doing a true whiteout at night for this game against Washington. I think I read that somewhere. I could be completely off. But Washington's been an interesting team this year. They're coming off a big win over USC. They lost to Rutgers. And they're one of those teams that, if their defense plays well, it's year 1 under Jed Fish. They're coming off the national title. Penn State coming off an emotional game where they fell to Ohio State, it could be a major letdown for the Nittany Lions. And I think if Penn State loses this game, I think they are actually eliminated from the college football playoff contention. And hopefully we get the rankings pretty soon. The show just popped on. But I don't know. I think this game's closer than many people are going to say it is. And I think Washington can come in and beat Penn State. James Franklin under fire right now. A lot of distractions off the field. Franklin got into it with fans after the game, which I don't know how he loses his cool there. I'm not a fan of Franklin. I've met Franklin in the past when I was going through the recruiting cycle myself. I don't know. This game feels weird for me. And then what if I told you we had the Holy War this week? And between BYU and Utah going into the season, if you said which one of these teams is going to be undefeated heading into this game, 95% of the people who have no affiliation to BYU would have said Utah. Utah was supposed to be what BYU's doing this year. In year 2 of Big 12 membership, BYU might win the Big 12. It's one of those special stories. It's a fun story. And the Holy War is back, and it's one of my favorite college football rivalries. I'm pretty sure it's still called the Holy War. I know a lot of games have had their names changed to protect with this culture we live in now. But I'm pretty sure BYU-Utah is still the Holy War. And I'm always going to refer to Oregon State as the Civil War. But as they're releasing the rankings, Army coming in at 25th in the college football playoff rankings. I feel for them. Got a big test against Notre Dame coming up in a few weeks. But BYU could set themselves up. I think BYU goes and wins the Big 12 this year. And I think they're one of the more fun teams to watch. And I'm excited to see where the season takes them this year. And I think BYU at 3.5, I think they win by more than that. I mean, Zach Wilson's brother is not playing well for Utah. Utah has not looked good. I've seen some people talk about whether Whittingham should retire following the season. Utah was supposed to come into this year. This was supposed to be the year they competed for the college football playoff, and it just has been an utter disaster as Cam Rising went down with another injury. Missouri comes in at number 24. I don't know how you could continue to rank Missouri with the way they've played over the past few weeks. Clemson 23, Louisville 22, Washington State 21. Washington State is having a sneaky good season when many thought things were going to fall apart for them. They don't get a conference affiliation when it comes to the college football playoff rankings. They are actually going to be considered an independent like Notre Dame, so they won't get the auto bid. So I don't think they make the college football playoff this year. Colorado coming in at 20. I just released a video on Colorado yesterday, and everybody said I was hating on Colorado, even though it was a positive take on Colorado. I guess my negativity was I didn't know how the future of Colorado looked with Shedeur and Travis Hunter leaving after the season. But I don't know, I thought I had a positive take. I'm not a Colorado fan. I'm a neutral fan. But Colorado is having a great year 2 under Deion, bowl eligible, coming in right behind Kansas State, who had a shocker of a loss to Houston. I don't know. I did not see that game coming, but it was sloppy weather. Pitt coming in at 18 after getting blown out by SMU earlier this weekend. Let me get a sip of water here because I've just been going and going for 26 minutes at this time. I appreciate you guys, the fact that I get to do this, the fact that I get to talk about college football, that I'm so passionate and I love I could not be more thankful. I never thought this channel would ever get to this place. The channel started off of a whim when I was a junior in college. So the fact that I'm still doing this 4 or 5 years later is just mind blowing to me. So I love all y'all. I appreciate y'all. Iowa State coming in at 17. Ole Miss coming at 16. Ole Miss coming in right where I had them in my rankings as well, at 16. And I'm intrigued for these final top 15. So we're going to probably get the first 3 out like we always do. Or I wonder if they're going to go from the top to the 12 seed. I mean, it's a whole new format this year. LSU coming in at 15, right where I had LSU as well. I kind of like what the committee's thinking for this top 16 right now. What is your folks' prediction for the college football playoff? As of now, if the season ended today, let me know in the comment section below right now or in chat, and let's have a little debate about it. I have this TV muted so you guys don't have it in the background, so I have no idea what they're talking about, but I'm a little surprised of how high Pitt is compared to the AP, but 8-1, gotta respect it. I wish they would have played SMU a little closer. That game just was supposed to be the game of the week. It got a lot of trash talk for being put as an ACC network game, and it showed to be true to be an ACC network game. Looks at Texas A&M is going to be 14. SMU being left out right now as well. I would have put a little more respect on SMU. Granted, this is the first poll. SMU's probably going to win out and play for an ACC title. This is just their first ranking where we overreact, we complain, we say, what is the committee thinking? When at the end of the day, these rankings in 4 weeks from now won't matter anyway when we're having this chat. It's just fun to debate. Boise State coming in at number 12. I would have put a little more respect on Boise State. I get it. They're a group of 5 team. But next to Ohio State, they've played Oregon the closest this year. Ashton Jeanty, who we're going to talk about Heisman stuff in just a few minutes after the rankings are revealed. Jeanty ran for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns against Oregon. And yet they come in as a 12 seed. Alabama is the 11 seed. I had Alabama as the first team out in my rankings. So Alabama ranked ahead of LSU, ranked ahead of A&M, ranked ahead of Ole Miss like I thought they were going to. Roll Tide, Bama J, 6278. Roll Tide. Or High Tide, as that annoying commercial. Oh, the same commercials continue to play. I got like 9 games going on College Football Saturday to keep track of stories, and it's all the same commercials over and over. Notre Dame coming in at number 10. I had Notre Dame as my 12 seed. So that's where me and the committee are viewing things a little different. So we're going to get, I think, the 8 and 9 matchup next. They're really trying to build suspense for this. I wish they just did it quicker. I hate how dramatic they make it. Oh no, they're skipping to. Me and the committee agree that BYU is 4. I'm gonna guess it's Miami 3, Georgia 2, Oregon 1. Unless they shock us and put Georgia's number 1, but I don't see how you rank Georgia ahead of Oregon. How y'all thinking the committee rankings are going right now? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm Bama J. I'm actually in New Orleans right now for work and walking around getting a po' boy. I walked into, I guess, a huge LSU fandom place where he made a sandwich, and it was just really funny. So I'm really excited. I said earlier in this video, I'm super excited for the Alabama LSU game. It's one of my favorite games year in and year out. So they're showing a graphic for Indiana, but I don't know where they ranked Indiana. What is your score prediction for the Alabama LSU game? Let me know in the chat right now. Do you got LSU winning? Do you have Alabama winning? Indiana as the, I think, ninth seed right now. Yeah, ninth seed. I had them as a 7. I think their strength of schedule is what's really hurting them right now. But that Ohio State game is going to be huge for them. If it was any other team and they lost to Ohio State, I think they still get a playoff spot. But I don't know if the committee is going to give Indiana the respect they deserve if they lose that game. And they'll leave them out of the rankings. Tennessee at 9. So right now we have an Indiana-Tennessee first round matchup in Knoxville, Tennessee. Been to Knoxville. Love Knoxville. Amazing city. If you have not been, you got to go. Neyland Stadium's unlike anything I've ever been in. And that says a lot because I love Camp Randall. I'm excited to go back to Camp Randall in a week and a half, even though we're going to lose to the number 1 team in the nation. At a 6:30 p.m. game, Central Time. They finally released the game time for Wisconsin, Oregon. I got a 6 a.m. flight out of Chicago the next morning. Just waiting for them to reveal the next team. Penn State at number 7. I had Penn State at 9. I had a Tennessee-Penn State matchup instead. Right now, if the season ended today, we would have Notre Dame-Penn State in Happy Valley, which is another great matchup. Then Texas at 6. I did have Texas at 6. Texas versus Bama 3.0 as of now if the season ended today. Which, those games are always so fun to watch. I believe it's 3.0 because I think they played the past 2 years, so it'd be the 3rd year in a row for the game. I'm interested to see how Texas finishes out the season, and I'm intrigued to see how this SEC title game is. I'm really excited for the Texas A&M rivalry to return this year. The one benefit of conference realignment, because those tickets are insane right now. I think the last time I checked, they were over $1,000 for nosebleeds. But I think that's also going to be an elimination game for Texas A&M if they don't win out. What a game by South Carolina this past weekend. How do you not rank South Carolina right now? Miami is the 5th team in the nation, just like I thought they should be, with a 3 seed in the playoffs. So, or no, Miami's the 4th team in the nation? Yeah, the 4th team in the nation. So they're right there with the 8 people. I believe Miami is the 5th team in the nation. I'm really excited for a Miami SMU ACC title game if that's what we end up getting. People called me crazy when I said SMU might compete for an ACC title earlier this season. I started to doubt myself after that Nevada game. But I feel good about that take. With what SMU has financially, with their backing, and now that they're a power team, I think things should be exciting. So Georgia is coming in at number 2. So are they going to rank Ohio State 1 or Oregon 1? I think, spoiler, Oregon's going to be 1. Ohio State's going to be number 5. just like a lot of people projected. The committee didn't do anything crazy. I wish they would have given SMU a little more respect. I would flip Bama and SMU. Sorry, Bama J, but that's just how I feel right now. And then things would have changed after this weekend. But so you got Oregon, Georgia, Miami, BYU as the first round buys. How do y'all feel about the first college football ranking? Do we have any overreactions? How dumb is the committee? How smart is the committee? Hot take right now. Ohio State is number 5 for the seeding, but they're the number 2 team overall in the country. So I have almost the same top 5 as the committee, except I flipped Miami and Texas right now. Just because I'm hesitant on Miami after a few games this season that I got to watch of them. But they did impress me with the way they ran away with it in the second half against Duke this past week. Which Duke is continuing to be successful. Did not expect that. But let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how well the committee did in the comments, in the chat. Let's debate. I think it was a pretty alright ranking. I didn't feel like the committee did anything too controversial. I think they played it safe. I think they did exactly what they thought we thought they were going to do. And I'm excited to see how things evolve over the next few weeks. I hope Boise State, SMU are 2 teams that get a little more respect going forward. But that's just me, and I love the underdog story. And I'm just really loving watching what Boise State's doing this year. And that should lead us to talking about the Heisman right now. So right now, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward are the 2 favorites to win the Heisman, followed by Dillon Gabriel and Ashton Jeanty. If the season ended today, my Heisman pick is Ashton Jeanty. Like I said, he almost rushed for nearly 200 yards against Oregon, who's the number 1 team in the nation. So single-handedly almost carried Boise State to the win. His down games are against UNLV when he had 128 rushing yards and got hurt. And his other lower games against Portland State when he didn't play the whole game and averaged 11.5 yards per carry. He currently has 190 carries for 1,525 yards, 20 touchdowns, and is averaging 8 yards per carry, which is insane because every team knows the ball is going to Jeanty. And although he's playing against the Mountain West schedule, like I said, he ran for 192 yards for a 7.7 yard average against Oregon on the road. Teams know it's going to Jeanty, and he's still putting up insane numbers. I don't know. He is hurting a little bit, and I hope he can get healthy. But Jeanty is my pick for the Heisman. All respect to Travis Hunter. What he is doing is truly amazing, going both ways, but they're not extremely eye-popping numbers left or right. I did not look at the statistics of how many targets he's getting on defense and if teams are going after him. The fact that he's averaging 110 snaps per game is insane. But just because you're averaging 110 snaps per game and having a decent season on both sides, I don't think that's a Heisman pick. Now, if he has a crazy game, I have not seen a Heisman moment from Hunter. Cam Ward, he's impressed me, and I've loved Cam Ward. I've covered Cam Ward since he transferred to Washington State. I mean, there's videos of me covering Cam Ward saying it was going to be the next big thing 2 to 3 years ago. Cam Ward always has a soft spot. And Dillon Gabriel is also having a great season. He's the other name being mentioned in the Heisman race right now. But if I was a Heisman voter, I'm not. I'm not that big in the media. I am not a Heisman voter at this time. I would go Jeanty 1, Hunter 2, Cam Ward 3, Dillon Gabriel 4. What are your Heisman picks? Let me know in the comment section below. And to close it out, this is going to be a little heads up. And I know I'm going to get comments about this on Thursday. Oh, another name actually I really want to just mention. Caleb Johnson, deserves a little more respect. He is having an insane season at Iowa, breaking Iowa records at a school. We got a spoiler video coming on Caleb Johnson tomorrow. It's tough for me as a Badger fan to talk about Iowa football. But Caleb Johnson, also another insane running back that had it not been for Genty, he would be getting all the highlight. He'd be getting all the conversation for a possible Heisman contender, and he's getting none. He's like the 20th rated odds to win the Heisman of anybody. He's having an insane season. But another spoiler, Thursday I have a USC video coming out. At the time of recording, I am on the road for work. I wanted to make sure I had content coming out for you guys. I worked on the video yesterday, releasing Thursday. At the time, Miller Moss was not going to be getting benched. But earlier this afternoon, it was announced that Jordan Maeva is going to be taking over for Miller Moss, as Moss can't stop turning the ball over for USC. I felt like this was coming at some point. I didn't think it would be this week or next week against Nebraska, but it does make sense having the bye week. Get the new quarterback in the system, get him comfortable. You need some spark plug, because you need to win 2 of your last 3 games against Nebraska, UCLA, and Notre Dame to make a bowl game. And all 3 of those teams, or 2 of those 3 teams, are fighting for bowl eligibility, and 1 is fighting for the college football playoff. It's been a disaster of a season post Caleb Williams for USC and Lincoln Riley, and I don't think Lincoln Riley gets fired. He's getting, supposedly, according to 24/7 Sports, an $88 million buyout, but things are not working out for the 10-year, $110 million coach that was supposed to make USC into a powerhouse once again. And in the Big Ten reality, they might be a middle-of-the-pack team, just like my Wisconsin Badgers. It's just the reality of the new college football world. But, like I said, I've been up since 2 a.m. I am dragging. I feel like I'm ranting. We've been going for almost 45 minutes. We had some great viewership. We've had some great conversations in the comment section. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I don't know how thin these walls are in this hotel I'm staying, so I want to make sure I'm not keeping up. My neighbor, who was having a dramatic phone call before, was a little juicy. I might get a knock on the door for saying that if she overheard me, but thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed this and want me to keep going, we'll make this a weekly thing as they release the college football rankings, and maybe I'll clip some of these things to talk about. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to check out one of my other videos. YouTube things you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.